The new Intercity Fleet is perhaps the most notorious train at the moment in New South Wales, set to enter service 5 years late and several $billion over budget. Whilst the project has encountered many issues, the trains will bring a new standard of travel to the Intercity network and, at least in my view, be a welcome improvement over the V and H sets. To replace the ageing V-set fleet and allow H-sets to be cascaded to Sydney trains, in 2014 the New South Wales government ordered a fleet of 512 cars, split into 77 4-car and 34 6-car trains, from Hyundai Rotem of South Korea, where the trains were manufactured. Between 2019 and 2021, the order was extended to 61 of both the 4 and 6-car variants. The new D-set trains were wider than the V-sets and thus required infrastructure modifications to parts of the Blue Mountains line, most notably the 10 tunnels deviation, where the tunnels needed to be widened. The tender called for the trains to be capable of driver-only operation, with guards repurposed to serve more of a passenger-oriented role, moving along the train checking tickets and the like. As a result of this, the manufacturer fitted the driver's desk with CCTV monitors and door controls, and connected crew doors to the interlock circuit. This meant that no power could flow to the motors if any crew door was opened, removing the ability for guards to hang out of doors. The Rail, Tram and Bus Union opposed this, leading to a prolonged industrial dispute involving strikes and other industrial action. Issues emerged with the CCTV cameras during testing, becoming a central part of the RTBU's push. Eventually, the New South Wales government buckled and agreed to changes to bring the new fleet into line with a Waratah-style operating model. These included removing crew doors from the interlock circuit and repositioning door controls and CCTV monitors to a guard workstation. Other changes had to be made at short platforms, as stopping points had to be moved and balizers, electronic beacons mounted in the forefoot on sleepers, reprogrammed. As of the time of writing, testing the modifications is underway, and the D-sets are due to come on stream sometime after July, making them about 5 years late and over $1 billion over budget. The current electric Intercity fleet comprises 49 4-car V-sets and 55 4-car H-sets. The V-sets may have been exemplary trains when they were first introduced, and they are still very comfortable, but they are no longer fit for purpose on today's railway. The 40-year-old trains are not only increasingly expensive to maintain as spare parts become harder to source, but are no longer able to cope with passenger volumes, and most importantly, are not accessible. They also lack features one would expect on trains nowadays for journeys of up to 3 hours, such as tray tables and charging ports. Despite their almost cult following, the V-sets need retiring. The H-sets are likewise unfit for purpose on intercity trips. Having originally been ordered to replace Tangaras on shorter outer suburban trips, such as to Gosford, Springwood or on the Port Kembla locals, there isn't much separating them from any other suburban train, aside from toilets and high-back seats, themselves rather uncomfortable. The H-sets, however, would make for a fantastic suburban train. For short journeys, the high-backed seats are a welcome treat, and the trains are nowhere near retirement yet. It's for this reason that Sydney Trains will take on the H-sets and refurbish them as part of the Oscar obsolescence program. One part of this is already complete on a few sets, the new passenger information system. The reallocation of these trains to suburban duties will enable the aging K-sets to be retired, whilst boosting frequency at the same time. From a passenger perspective, I believe the D-sets will provide a welcome boost in comfort, amenity and accessibility, with one small exception which I'll get to later. The trains have wider seats in a 2+2 configuration, unlike the 2+3 seating on H-sets. The seats are fixed, allowing for tray tables, 240-volt outlets and USB chargers, the likes of which are standard on trains of this type around the world. I can't say how comfortable the seats will be obviously, however they don't look too bad I must say. The trains are also capable of moving large numbers of standees with their larger doors, wider aisles and open vestibules, an improvement on the V-sets which struggle in peak hour in this regard. The introduction of 10-car trains on the South Coast Line will also increase capacity. For reference, a 10-car D set is about the same as an 8-car V set. The trains feature bike racks too, only seen elsewhere on V sets, but in a much nicer arrangement. The D sets are also fully accessible, unlike the V sets, with each set featuring an accessible toilet, tip-up seats in wheelchair bays, clear wayfinding, and plenty of space in the vestibules. There is an additional smaller ambulant toilet in 6-car sets. Additionally, the D sets are more numerous than the V and H sets they replace, allowing for more frequent service. The south coastline will benefit from this, with peak service between Sydney and Wollongong increasing from every 20 minutes to every 15, and week-round service from hourly to half-hourly. Finally, there is the possibility of shorter journey times with the D sets, which have a maximum speed of 160 km per hour, as opposed to 130 for H sets and 115 for V sets. At the moment, it unfortunately appears trains will be limited to 130 in service, but I hold out hope that someday, with a combination of ETCS and more substations, 160 km per hour running will be introduced, or reintroduced, looking at you Western Line. Many claim that the D sets are unsafe, often pointing at the former operating model, claiming it was inherently unsafe. This is not true, and the model is fairly typical of railways globally. A fair compromise would be for guards to control doors from a cab, supervise departure through a drop-light window, and then take up duties in the passenger saloon. It is a bit of a waste to have a paid second crew member sat in a cab for potentially up to half an hour doing nothing between stations. Some features of the trains themselves may have had some issues, such as the CCTV cameras. If the problems as reported by the RTBU did exist, there would have been many solutions other than costly and timely reworking of interlocks just to let guards fall out of the trains, as happened at Burwood in February. It is in fact these modifications that have also presented numerous safety issues in their own right, including crew doors opening on their own whilst the trains were in motion. Thus some of the reported faults are actually not problems with the trains themselves. There are also a number of safety benefits afforded by the D sets. These include help points and, for the first time, automatic selective door opening, which automatically selects the correct doors to open at short platforms. This is much safer than the current V-set fleet, where SDO does not exist and all doors can be opened at every station, regardless if they're on a platform or not, a lesson learned the hard way by a blind man in 2014. It reduces the likelihood of human error, which occurs too often on H-sets with their manual SDO.
You'll be expected to be in the passenger saloon, allowing you to continue providing great customer service.
Some media outlets reported that the trains were too wide for infrastructure, implying the Transport Department was inept at specifying dimensions for the trains. Indeed, this is about as far from the truth as possible. The trains were designed to be about as wide as any other in Sydney, with infrastructure modifications made to allow almost any train in Sydney to pass through the Blue Mountains past Springwood, which is a good thing, and has enabled other sets, such as H sets, to run to Lithgow. In fact, the track bed of the 10 tunnels was lowered in 1978 to make way for the V sets in a similar fashion. One complaint I see far too often about the D sets are their lack of reversible seats, which I think is unfounded. Very, very few trains around the world have this feature, and passengers do not complain. For the few who may find backwards facing seats unpleasant, I have good news. Half of the seats will face forward. I think it's a worthy sacrifice in return for properly moulded seats, tray tables, and outlets, which wouldn't be possible with reversible ones. It also makes the trains lighter, giving them better performance. The road to D-set entry to service is still quite long, with lots of further testing required. Despite the delays, cost blowouts, and industrial action, I think these trains will be an upgrade for intercity services. It will be interesting to see what happens in the coming months, especially with operation of intercity services rumoured to be moving to Sydney trains in the same timeframe. One thing is for certain, however, I'll be on the first service. Thanks for watching, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.